Welcome back to the Avengers, right here at Comicstorian, where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into synopsises of the main story, allowing you to catch up on your favorite comic books and get back with your busy life. Today we're going to be covering the rest of the Marvel's Avengers prequel comics, The Road to A-Day. So, quick rundown, the Gamerverse is where Marvel likes to put additional storylines to their video games. The Road to A-Day comics is a prequel storyline for Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, and the Hulk, and how they got to A-Day, what led up to these moments. With us currently playing Marvel's Avengers over on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/comicstoriangaming, on a frequent basis, we wanted all of you to be aware of how we got there. What was the road to the video game? And that is today's video. I'll see you guys at the ending of today's video, and let's get started. Bruce looks up from his calculations. The readings match all of our projections. Tony, I think we're good to go. Excellent. Thor, are you ready? Stark asks, and Thor nods, gripping Mjolnir tighter. How much power do you want? Give it all you got, Goldilocks. Gird your loins, my friend. The lightning is about to begin. Thor shouts as energy crackles off of him. Lightning falls from the sky, sparking against Thor's hammer, and then it's redirected towards Stark's portal. The three stand out in a field, part of Stark's industrious park, preparing the Stark portal. With this baby in operation, the Avengers will be able to assemble anywhere, anytime. Thor begins to struggle, spinning Mjolnir even faster. Channeling limitless lightning is more difficult than you may think, Stark! Thor shouts, and Bruce cheers his friend on, counting down to when the portal will be stable. But suddenly, energy levels begin to spike. Thor, cut the crackle! Iron Man yells, and Thor shifts Mjolnir, with the lightning coming off of it. It's a storm, you fool! I can't just... But his words are cut off as the portal explodes, with Tony pulling Bruce free in just a nick of time. Thor returns, making sure that his friends are all right. But Bruce and Tony are already arguing about the miscalculation. Slow your roll, Bruce. You saw the same simulation that I did. Besides, that's not important. Are you okay? That blast is pretty close. Tony says, checking on his friend. Bruce pushes him away, telling him that he's fine. And Thor walks over, spinning Mjolnir over his head. My friends, I know you'd like to reproduce the power of the gods, but if you require transportation, you will only need ask. Heimdall, open a gate to Asgard. A voice fills the air as a portal opens up in the very fabric of reality, showing the city of the gods in the distance. As you wish, son of Odin, Heimdall calls, and Tony thanks him but knows that they can't use Thor's portals if he isn't around. If he's off in space or on a mission for his father, Bruce begins to get irritated, commenting that it's always about convenience with Tony. A glittering portal to Asgard awaits, and yet you ignore it? How typical. Thor whispers, shaking his head. He orders Heimdall to close the gate, but a moment passes and the view to Asgard stays open. I cannot. The gate stays open, though I know not why, Heimdall responds. Thor shakes his head, knowing that his father will not be pleased with a gate that stays open and unguarded. Tony leaps into the air, telling the others that he's out when it comes to magic, and he flies away. Unknown to them, Loki stands nearby, cloaked by his trickster magics. He laughs to himself, complimenting himself on using his magic to sabotage Tony's portal device. Now then, let's cause my half-brother even more strife. He snickers to himself, and with a wave of his hand, Loki casts another spell, changing what Thor and Bruce perceive. Either you go to your dad and fix this stupid portal, or I'll smash down his front door myself, Thor hears Bruce yell. You would presume to command me and assault my father? Thor responds, but what Bruce truly asked him is, I don't know enough about how Asgardian magic works to shut it down. What do you think could have caused this? It was certainly a device that you and Stark were testing. If you damaged Mjolnir, I'll pummel your green hide, you foul creature. Bruce hears Thor yell back at him. Loki works another spell, and Bruce grows confused with a strange tingling in his brain. Thor warns Banner that he does not fear him, but as Banner turns on him, warning the god to back off, anger fills the air as Bruce begins to change. The Hulk is coming, so Thor prepares himself, lightning cracking into the hammer. And finally he rushes forward, with lightning meeting the green giant. The blow knocks the both of them away, with Thor landing on his feet and Hulk smashing through a grove of trees. Banner, you know fighting me is a mistake. I have felled countless creatures with this hammer. Apologize for the threats you uttered, and we shall overlook this sight, he tells him. But Hulk lashes out, knocking Thor away and leaping after him. He begins to rain blows down on Thor, punctuating each blow with a furious yell.
Metal is nothing! Thunder God is nothing! Hulk is the strongest ever!
He shouts, lifting Thor up, throwing him towards the city. The people in the streets look up as they see the God of Thunder flying through the air, crashing into the road hard enough to crack the pavement beneath him. He struggles to get to his feet, looking up to see the Hulk sailing towards him again.
Fear not, people of York. I'll protect you,
he tells them, but quiets when the Hulk lands amongst them. The Hulk begins to rain down the blows again, but Thor knocks him away with lightning cracking as he brings Mjolnir against the Hulk's face.
Enough of this!
A storm gathers overhead as Thor calls upon his power.
You have insulted me and endangered the innocent souls of this city. For this you must be brought to heel, Banner!
He shouts as the storm comes down and the two begin to trade more blows. Hulk smashes into Thor's face only to be met in turn by the unbreakable Uru metal. Lightning cracks with each blow as thunder rumbles overhead and rain begins to lash out against the city streets. Thor is knocked away again, but as he struggles back to his feet, he looks up to see Loki, silhouetted by the rain.
By the blood of Balder, I should have known,
Thor whispers to himself, and he begins to swing a Mjolnir, calling the lightning again.
Hold fast, Banner.
There's more going on here than two titans clashing. He cries out for Loki to reveal himself as the lightning crashes against Loki's chest. He throws the hammer, cracking Loki in the face and dropping the trickster god to the earth. Thor then calls Mjolnir, standing over his fallen brother.
Look here, Hulk. The trickster is within our minds,
he tells his friend. Hulk pauses, looking down at the fallen foe.
Loki? Hulk hates Loki.
Indeed, I'm not fond of him myself. So that night, Thor and Bruce explain the tale to Tony as they walk through the city streets. Thor brings up the fact that they're going to have to pay for the damages to New York, and the people will continue to not trust the Avengers. But Thor laughs it off, telling him,
you need to drown your frustrations in some ale.
But Bruce is still mad that he lost control and people could have died again.
But they didn't. Victories require celebration, and that's how we bond as warriors. Please, my friends, celebrate with me.
Finally, they agreed, with Tony commenting that he'll just order a mocktail. And the three step into the bar, with Thor heading to the counter.
Have I told you about the time that I cowed a Midgard serpent?
Thor asks. If I say yes, will you not tell us again? Bruce asks.
Hulk is raging, screaming his head off, pounding his fist against the glass.
Yes, you're very angry, Bruce, we know it. But these tests are crucial to understanding how your transformations are triggered. Monica tells him, continuing the scans as the Hulk continues to beat against the glass. But we're also working on a way to reverse them. She sprays the chamber with a numbing mist and plays classical music over the radio. And slowly, the Hulk begins to calm, changing back into Bruce Banner. You did great, Bruce. Lots of data, Monica tells Bruce as she helps him out of the chamber. There they stand together with Bruce apologizing that it seemed like he was going to hurt her. No, you would never do that. I trust you, she tells him, pulling Bruce Banner in for a kiss. The two turn, looking at the data, and they begin to discuss how Bruce can't always remember what happens when he transforms, with Monica believing that they could possibly edit his gamma-mutated genes. Edit? Do you mean like eliminate? Bruce asks her, but Monica gets a smile on her face, telling Bruce that she doesn't think that they need to eliminate them. With the right treatment, you could have all the power and none of the rage or memory loss, she tells him. With anger flashing in Bruce's voice, he reaches down for her arm, and he tells her that no one can control the Hulk. He's tried that in the past. It's a monster that destroys everything that it touches, and I can't go down that path again. It has to go completely, nothing left, he tells her, his voice raising with his anger. Monica pulls her arm free, telling Bruce that he's hurting her. I know you're afraid of losing control again, of hurting people. But together, I promise we can overcome this and find a way to use this power to change the world, Bruce.
No! Either you help me get rid of this curse or we're done,
he tells her. And finally, he pulls on his lab coat, walking out, telling her that he needs some air. As he walks out, he runs into George Tarleton, a fellow scientist who Bruce isn't quite a fan of since he's a genius that thinks he's smarter than everyone else. Tarleton tries to go over some simulation models for renewable energy that he's been working on, but Bruce brushes him off, telling him that he doesn't have time.
I don't have time for this right now, George.
Maybe in a couple of weeks, Bruce tells him. George turns away in a huff. He knows the world needs this energy. They're already spinning into a global energy crisis. I'll do it myself. I don't need any of you. Entering the chamber, he pulls on his goggles, hitting the switch. With the energy cracking, filling the chamber with light, it condenses itself into a ball. George then pulls the lever to reveal Phase 2, and the sphere expands.
There it is! Energy expansion!
George yells in victory, but the computer begins to chime, telling the scientists that the energy is unstable. He yells to the computer to shut down the experiment, but he's answered only by the speakers blowing out. The energy sphere ruptures the chamber, striking Tarleton in the chest, launching him away. Bruce turns, hearing the rumble of the explosion deep in the facility, and two shielded agents run past him, weapons drawn. Tendrils of energy begin to snake out, grasping them, absorbing them, and with shock filling Bruce's eyes, he watches as the energy merges with the agents, creating some sort of creature. It grows arms, legs, and a head, and its mouth rips open, roaring in anger at Bruce Banner. It launches him into the next room, bringing screams of panic from Monica. But she manages to smash the button that lowers the Hulk's chamber down onto the creature. The energy monster is confused, raging against the glass, so Monica pulls Bruce to his feet as he explains what he saw. He tells her that they need to get out of here, that the chamber won't hold the beast for long. But it stopped the Hulk, Monica tells him. This is different. It's pure energy, Bruce tells her as they head for the exit. He pushes Monica away as the monster breaks through the glass, and it reaches for Bruce, filling his entire body with electricity. Bruce should be dead, as every cell in his body is fried, but the Hulk won't let him die, and the banner is gone. The Hulk roars, launching himself at the monster, slamming it into the wall. Angry light is bad, Hulk snarls as the two meet in the street below. Smash light! The Hulk yells, rushing forward, but the monster throws him away, opening its mouth to hiss. No, it snarls, with rain pouring down from the sky as the creature knocks the Hulk away, scattering the people who walk along the pier. What is this? What am I? The monster asks, and the Hulk struggles to his feet, lifting up a fallen power rod. You're ugly! He snarls, stabbing the monster with the rod. The creature is stunned, and the Hulk smashes the docks beneath their feet, sending them both plummeting to the water below. As the creature hits the water, the explosion is massive, sending the Hulk flying. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Banner prays that this is enough to finally kill the Hulk. His vision comes back, and Bruce looks up to see Monica kneeling over him. And she looks down at him with concern, telling him that it'll all be all right. But Bruce knows as long as the Hulk is around, nothing will be all right. So later, as Bruce is laying in his hospital bed watching the news that shows that the power is out along the eastern seaboard, that the damages are going to be in the 120 millions, he sees Tony, his friend, standing there. Do you remember any of it? Just moments, flashes of violence, Bruce tells him. And he tells Tony that he seems to be losing more and more control, that someday he might get lost inside the Hulk. Tony smiles, telling him that it'll be okay, and that he can't give in to despair. I've been there. At the bottom of the bottle, it doesn't make it any better, Tony says, and as he leaves the room, he lets Monica enter to visit. Meanwhile, in the hallway, George Tarleton stops Tony, a bandage on his head, and he tells him that after last night, he's more convinced than ever that they need to fix this energy crisis, and he asks him if he'll take a look at the data. All right, let's see what you got, Tony says. You know me, I'm always looking for ways to unlock the future. The explosion knocked the armored car to the ground, and Batroc leaped overhead, landing expertly on the side of the overturned vehicle. Now the show begins, the French villain laughs. No, Batroc, now it ends. Captain America calls out from behind. Oh, Captain, so overdramatic. Batroc jests as the captain throws his shield. Cap has been distracted all day. It was a daring heist, daytime in the Times Square, but his mind is 75 years in the past, showing a fellow soldier his shield. Batroc leaps over Cap's toss, but the shield bounces back, hitting him from behind and knocking him to the ground. Give it up, Batroc! You're outmatched! As always, Cap orders him, but Batroc uses his wrist radio to call in his backup. Several of the Leaper's goons arrive, aiming their weapons at Cap. Steve tries to give them a chance to surrender, but they hit him with sonic rounds. The shield takes the brunt of the attack, but Cap is knocked into the armored car. He tries to push it off, but he's still only half paying attention. His mind drifts back to the war, to the young corporal. His name was Clarence Davis. Captain America begins to push back, stepping forward even with the sonic weapons pushing against him. Hey, Frenchie, how you doing over there? One of the goons asks, glancing over his shoulder at Batroc. You better not call me Frenchie again, the Leaper notes, finishing setting up his portable weapon. Cap makes it to the goons, knocking their weapons aside and throwing them into each other. He then spins, backhanding Batroc in the face. I've got a few questions, Batroc, starting with, what is that thing and what does it do? He asks the Leaper, pointing over his shoulder at the weapon on the tripod. But Batroc leaps again, pushing the button on the device and telling Cap that it was a simple magnet. All around them, the metal begins to rend and tear, and the doors to the armored car fly off, revealing an empty wagon. Shock fills Batroc's eyes. That's not right, he gasps. You want to tell me why you attacked an empty truck? Cap asks as he steps forward, but Batroc turns, a smile on his face. A simple mistake on the part of my client. But I get paid either way, oui? He says before leaping away, escaping Captain America. Cap turns, destroying the magnet device and leaving as the police arrive on the scene. He has places to be. Steve Rogers stands at the funeral, his eyes downcast as he thinks back to the war. There were millions of soldiers that fought in the European theater, and they all made an impact on the war, but Corporal Davis made an impact on Steve Rogers. He was a member of an experimental unit, one that had unprecedented access to military intelligence, and he used it to anticipate the enemy's next action. Davis and his men saved countless lives. Steve had dropped in on them in 1943, based on the intel for a Nazi target. They crouched in darkness, surveying the base. Captain, this is going well. We should have met more resistance by now. Davis whispers to Captain America. You think it's a trap? Steve asks. Yes, for you, Davis nods. The corporal tries to get the captain to sit this fight out, but Steve disagrees, and they regroup and they strategize. They brought the enemy to them before they rushed it, breaking down their walls and getting past their traps. They captured the Axis scientists before they could capture Captain America. Now in the present, Steve stands over the grave as the coffin is lowered in. Corporal Davis was the last surviving member of that unit, and now he's gone. But never forgotten. Not if I have anything to say about it, Steve thinks to himself. Later, a shield guard watches as a truck with the shattered armored car passes his post. He doesn't notice Batroc leaping over the fence behind him, moving quietly through the shield facility. Batroc smiles as he sneaks inside, prepared for his big score, but suddenly the door to the car flies open, revealing Captain America. Cap smacks him with his shield, knocking the leaper to the ground, and Batroc spins, letting loose with a kick that harmlessly hits Cap's shield, sending pain shooting up his leg. Yeah, you don't want to kick the shield, Cap tells him. Batroc rolls out of the way, and he and Captain America begin to trade blows back and forth, with Batroc leaping over him, spinning around for a kick to Cap's spine. Steve twists, catching the blow and throwing Batroc into a stack of boxed weapons. Batroc then comes up, aiming a pistol at Steve's face. Do you want to know what that prototype does, Batroc? Take one more step and we're going to find out. Batroc smiles. Cap steps forward, Batroc pulls the trigger, and nothing happens. It's not operational at the moment, just like everything else in this room. Steve smiles at him. He drops Batroc with one punch to the face, and suddenly the room is full of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. There's your ride, Steve tells the mercenary as he turns to leave. The agents begin to cuff Batroc as the Frenchman begins to curse out Captain America. Months of planning and you ruined it all, he yells. Cap walks outside, climbing aboard his motorcycle. He gets Iron Man on the comms, telling him that he'd like to talk to him about an old friend from his past and the future of the Avengers, Cap says as he drives off into the sunset. Natasha sends another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent flying, throwing them hard through the air, and they crash into the ground as the rest try to rush her. Someone grab her! We can drag her down! They yell. If you could, I wouldn't have survived past age 7, and I wouldn't be called the Black Widow, Natasha tells them. One of the agents has had enough, pulling out the heavy weapons. To hell with this! Deploying a sonic cannon! But before he can move, Nick Fury enters the room, calling the exercise to a close. If I wanted my people in the infirmary, I'd have put them there. And I haven't made up my mind about you, Agent 27. A sonic cannon in close quarters. You would have taken out everyone except the Widow. Fury tells the group, and Agent 27 apologizes, letting Fury know that sometimes they see Black Widow as the enemy. He looks around at all of the mildly wounded agents, noting that watching her work didn't change his mind. She just took out 10 of our best and she would have won. You want to let that motivate you to do better? Great, but Agent Romanoff is a valuable asset to S.H.I.E.L.D., and you will treat her like the asset she is. Yeah, a Russian asset, one of the agents whispers. Fury turns on him, canceling the agent's leave and telling him that if it continues, he'll spend the night in the brig. But Natasha tells him to leave it alone and walks out of the room. The two walk through the halls together, with Nick explaining that he needs his teams to work together. Of course. In the Red Room, we train to fight as a precision machine and to trust no one, including each other, she tells him. But Nick tells her that if their methods were so great, then she probably wouldn't be here talking to him. And your training officer will be here any minute, he tells her. Natasha looks at him in surprise. Did you say training? She asks, explaining that she hasn't been in training since she was 5 years old. I just dominated 10 of your best. Nick agrees, explaining that no one is questioning her abilities, but we do things in a specific way. You want to go into the field with my people, especially in a command role? You need to know how we operate, he explains to her, and he introduces her to the agent that walks in. Tony Masters, it's a pleasure, the agent says, holding out his hand, and Natasha takes the outstretched hand, immediately flipping Masters over her shoulder. But he spins out of the air, landing into a slight crouch. Maybe this won't be a waste of my time after all, she says with a smile. So days pass and the two work through the exercise routine. They fight back against robot opponents, and Natasha questions why they fight this way, explaining that it would just be easier to eliminate all of the opponents. She demonstrates by smashing two of the droids into one another. Masters respects her skill, questioning what type of fighting style it is since he can't seem to figure it out. It's ballet, modified of course and combined with other disciplines, but it's ballet at its core, she tells him. Masters grins at this, thinking that it is the perfect style, since ballet was also her cover in the Red Room. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up bad memories, he tells her, but Natasha shakes her head agreeing that she needs to make new ones, and he drops into a fighting stance. So let's make some. Show me your ballet foo. I bet kicking my ass will cheer you up, he tells her with a smile. Weeks pass and Natasha walks along the deck of the helicarrier with Nick, discussing how she now considers Masters at least a comrade in arms, if not exactly a friend. I might have more if you'd clear me for the field. I should have been in on capturing that Hydra cell, she tells Fury, watching as they unload the prisoners from one of the SHIELD jets, and Nick Fury agrees, telling her that he's watched her training footage and promises to put her in the field for the next op. Hydra agents are trained against torture, Natasha reminds him, but Fury just smiles. Torture's for amateurs. We've got much more sophisticated methods. Give it a couple of days and we'll have plenty of targets. That night, Nick Fury turns, firing his twin pistols in opposite directions. Fury to the bridge! Hydra escapees are in the wind. Deploy long-range weapons, he shouts. But the bridge responds, telling him that their system is down due to a cyber attack. Where did it originate? Fury questions. And they tell him the brig, so he gathers up a group of SHIELD agents. We've got a jailbreak! They round the corner with Fury telling his agents to be ready for anything, but they discover Natasha standing over the unconscious bodies of the Hydra prisoners. Stand down, people. Looks like the jailbreak is under control, Nick Fury tells everyone. But Masters is next to him, aiming his rifle at Natasha. Actually, there's one perp left. She's the one who opened up the cells. Masters tells Director Fury, and Natasha tells them that that claim is ridiculous. But Masters explains that he has proof. Fury looks back and forth at Masters and Natasha Romanoff, and he finally turns to Masters. Let's see this proof, Masters, and it better be good. So Masters leads them into the brig, demonstrating the laser grid that guards the cells. He informs them that someone got through the lasers without tripping them. She's the only one I've seen with the ability to maneuver through something like that, a special technique based on ballet, he tells them. He keeps walking through the escape, showing a partial footprint and handprint near the cell controls. The jailbreak was designed to spring the Hydra prisoners before they could reveal their intel. Romanoff took down the others to prove her loyalty, Masters explains before turning to Natasha. I'm sorry, Romanoff. I was really starting to consider you a friend, Masters tells her, but Natasha is moving fast, a knife already in her hand as she leaps at Masters. That was your mistake, she tells him, with the blade cutting through his uniform before the other agents can restrain her. You're right, I could have done it, but I didn't. The position of the handprint is off. Whoever did that would have been clipped by a laser, she tells the group as a laser burn is revealed on Masters' shoulder. A sustained burn on his upper arm. Natasha finishes. You learned to copy me, Masters. Just not well enough. Natasha smiles. Fury raises his weapon, ordering everyone to arrest Masters, but the man throws a stun grenade, using the flash to make his escape. Natasha's right behind him, though, dodging his gunfire. I'm ready for anything else you could throw at me, she tells them as they meet on the deck of the helicarrier. Oh, we're gonna see about that, he tells her, and they begin to square off. They leap at each other, both blocking each other's kicks. But Natasha spins, using her other leg to kick Masters square in the jaw. He drops, crawling across the deck. Imitation only goes so far, Tony. You need your own style. Some advice if you ever get out of prison. He won't. That's not how treason works, Fury says, coming up behind them, but this time Masters is at the edge of the deck. Actually, there's another way it works. Treason is punishable by death, he shouts, leaping off of the helicarrier, landing onto the Hydra ship that is floating just over the side. We'll find him, Natasha tells Fury, but Nick shakes his head, telling her, I know that you stole the codes to the cells. I knew I had a mole. I just didn't know I had two, he says, pulling his pistol, aiming it right at her. You took Masters' same contract. He just got here first, Fury explains to her. But Natasha puts up her hands, asking Fury to let her explain. Yes, I stole the codes to break out a single inmate, Losif Stefanov, she tells him. Fury looks at her, telling her that they picked up the 70-year-old former Russian spy as a part of a diamond smuggling operation. He can tell us a lot. What is he to you? Fury asks her. So Natasha explains that Stefanov was the finest ballet teacher in Russia and answered when his country called. He trained me in the techniques that masters copied and showed me kindness when no one would. It was the kindness that I clung to survive the Red Room. She explains she spoke to him in the brig and she wants to give him the peace that he once gave her. That was enough for you to commit treason for? Fury asks her, but Natasha tells him that she decided against the blind obedience to any country at this point. I don't expect you to understand, but I will accept the consequences of my actions without a fight, she tells Nick. He looks at her for a moment. Let's take a walk, Romanoff, he tells her. And he leads her into the brig, telling the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents on guard duty to take a 10-minute break. Standing outside of his cell, Nick and Natasha look in at Stefanov. Losif Stefanov, I hear you're one of the finest dancers in the world. Shame you were killed in the prison riot, Nick tells him. At least, that's what the official report will say. Natasha is shocked, but Nick tells her to take the man to a quiet life, the one that she promised him. Whether you know it or not, I am your friend. I'm beginning to understand that, Natasha smiles, leading Losif out of the room. 5 years later, Fury and Romanoff look at the photos spread on the table. Taskmaster, Fury whispers. Is our intel certain that he's really a master? Fury nods, telling her that Masters has stepped up his game, copying the moves of Cap, Hawkeye, and her. And Natasha smiles. I didn't teach him everything I know, and when we meet again, it'll be his final lesson.
New York City. Iron Man leaps into the air, shooting a blast of energy at the Beetle, but the villain dodges, taunting the hero. Bad shot! Looks like you're becoming obsolete, shellhead! Beetle yells as the two dip and dive out of the air, firing blasts at each other. Below and around them, the rest of the Avengers continue to fight the Lethal Legion, and they're not having much better luck. Tony thinks about it. There's no reason that this group should be giving them so much trouble, but even Black Widow is doing everything that she can to dodge Whirlwind's incoming attacks. Either the Lethal Legion has gotten better or the Avengers have gotten complacent. Don't worry, Big Green, I haven't forgotten about you, Absorber Man laughs, punching the Hulk hard in the face. Captain America dodges another attack, calling out to his team. Let's get some unit cohesion, Avengers. Form up on me and switch opponents. He shouts. Aye, Cap, Thor shouts, throwing Mjolnir hard. The magic hammer spins around Whirlwind as Widow leaps away. Prepare for an intercept on your target, Tony, she calls out, and Iron Man acknowledges, flying away from Beetle and telling Cap that he's going to execute a Jade Wall maneuver. Meanwhile, Whirlwind is fighting a losing battle with Mjolnir, and Thor walks slowly towards him. You keep your stupid hammer back, Whirlwind yells. Nay, Mjolnir obeys my command and relishes in punishing the unworthy, Thor yells at the villain, his eyes cracking with lightning. The hammer finally comes down, knocking Whirlwind to the ground. Iron Man flies into Titania using the Hulk-like big green wall and knocking her unconscious. And while Cap's shield is knocking Absorbing Man into the water, Widow lands nearby, Beetle knocked out at her feet. Nice work, Cap compliments the team. Nah, it was a hack job, Steve, Tony tells him, and Natasha agrees. While the Legion is tough, they were sloppy. Tony agrees with her, checking Beetle's suit to figure out why his suit was so souped up. Process match, Stark System 17 core in operation. His scanners chime. 5 hours later, Tony is walking through the vault with two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They finally lead him in front of Beetle's cell, telling him that he has 5 minutes. The man himself, Tony Stark, Abner smiles as he looks up. Decided to spend some time with the common folk? You're not here to spring bail, are you? He asks. Tony doesn't smile, but asks where Abner got the upgrades for his new suit. You're a 2-bit mechanic that apprenticed with the Fixer, Tony tells him. Come on, Stark, give me some credit. I'm a mechanical engineer with a specialty in electronics, Abner says, standing at his cell door. Whatever. Now you're just a scavenger who's using my stolen tech, Tony shouts, and Abner fakes being upset by Tony's words, making the hero even angrier as he demands to know where he got the files for his tech. Later, Tony stands in his workshop going over his systems again to make sure that there hasn't been any leaks, but he still can't find anything. And that's when he realizes that this isn't just about computing, it's also about espionage. So, a short time passes, and he stands in the gym with Natasha, sparring with each other. I'm not accusing you of anything, Natasha. I'm just looking for some advice and a way to vent, he tells her, blocking an incoming kick. Good, because I don't need any extra motivation to kick your ass, she tells him. The two continue to trade blows, with Tony explaining that if his tech is getting out there and he can't figure out how, then the world is in danger. Plus, of course, your ego, Natasha tells him, chopping him hard in the neck. Tony continues to work through the problem, though, aware that the only place his tech is exposed is in his lab, which he already checked. And yet, sloppiness, Natasha hisses, tripping him with a sweeping leg. Finally, she stands over him. How many geniuses do you know and where do you work? She asks with a smirk. Later, in the secure S.H.I.E.L.D. lab, Tony works alongside Bruce Banner on an experiment, and he looks up smiling as he apologizes for using Hulk like a backstop. Do you really need to give that move its own codename and not tell me? Bruce asks, slightly annoyed. But Tony tells him that Jade Wall is a cool codename, and asks how things are going with one of the other scientists, Monica. But Bruce weighs off the question, telling Tony that they should be talking about teamwork. Hey man, I'm not the one who let Absorbing Man pop me in the face like an amateur, Tony tells him. I've got a lot on my mind, Tony. Things aren't easy for me, you know? Bruce tells him. Tony agrees, telling Bruce that they've been through a lot together. Disagreements are fine, but without trust, we've got nothing. Bruce is a little confused about what Tony is trying to get at, and finally, Stark just comes out and says it. Did you help S.H.I.E.L.D. compromise my security? Bruce gets slightly angry, pushing against Tony. What? No! Why the hell are you openly talking about that in the lab? Bruce shouts. Because I'm not an idiot. I'm masking our conversation and scanning at the same time, Tony tells him. The other scientists and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents look on during the argument, and what they see is what Tony wants them to see. Mayonnaise? No! What kind of monster would do that to French fries? Bruce shouts. It's a European thing, Bruce. Try it and you might be surprised, Tony yells back. Finally, Tony turns to leave, telling Bruce to watch his back in the lab. That night, the guard that was watching them is leaving the S.H.I.E.L.D. lab, waving goodnight to his buddies. As he leaves the compound, he reaches for his phone, reactivating it and finding that he has 32 messages. You should see how many notifications I get. So much spam, Tony calls from above as he lands as Iron Man. After running a little digital sting operation overnight to find out who's been scanning me and where it's going, I still don't know who you are. But let's find out, Tony tells the guard, blasting the ground at his feet and sending him flying. Tony hits him with a sonic blast next, disrupting the man's digital disguise and revealing Spy Master. Oh, nice detective work, Stark, but the damage is already done, the villain tells him. S.H.I.E.L.D. scans you, I scan them, and the dark web market pays me a pretty penny, he shouts, throwing a handful of disruptor grenades that shock Tony's armor. Spy Master pulls out a pistol, walking towards Stark and explaining that they live in an information age, and Tony's tech is worth pure platinum. He stands over him, ready to shoot him in the head. Any last words? Spy Master asks. Tony looks up. Yeah, boot Stark System 18. The disruptor grenades fly free and Spy Master's pistol explodes. Tony moves in fast, knocking the man to the ground. Too much data, Stark. You can't keep it safe, Spy Master whispers as he falls unconscious. Later, Nick Fury walks out of his apartment onto the deck, momentarily stunned to find Tony sitting in his car there. Spy Master knocked out in the passenger seat. Top of the morning, Nick. We gotta talk, Tony tells him with a smile. Yeah, I can see that. Tony explains that he thought they were on the same side, yet S.H.I.E.L.D. has been scanning Tony's tech and storing it on their servers, which Spy Master hacked. Fury explains that Tony is the smartest and most high-strung man that Nick has ever met. What organization or country can trust that wholesale on your say-so? There have been contingencies, Fury tells him, but Iron Man's armor unfolds, wrapping around Tony again, and Fury asks if they're gonna fight. The Avengers saved your secret shipment. I cleaned up my mess, and I caught the saboteur. And all the Stark data that you stole from me has been wiped from your servers. You taught me a valuable lesson, Nick. My personal security is now more important than your global spy game, Tony tells him, stepping on the hood of Fury's car, denting it. So you quit? I never quit. I just do things on my own terms, Tony tells him, leaping into the air and flying away. See you in the office.
And there you have it, the prequel, The Road to A-Day, released on the day that the game is coming out. Now, don't forget, me and a bunch of my friends are going to be playing this game constantly over on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Comicstorian Gaming, where you can find us playing this, Destiny, and you can find Final Fantasy XIV. You can also find videos based around this and live streams over at our YouTube channel, Comicstorian Gaming. In the end, I'll tell you right now, my main is Black Widow. Really enjoying playing as her. I feel like her combos are the best out of the whole game, but what do you think? What is your opinion? Let me know who you're maining in the game, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you want to know more about this universe and things that are going on. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time right here.